All right, folks, we are dropping the gold. It is going to be raining. Don't go outside. Get right in front of your laptop, whatever it is. Get your pad out. We've got the Northern California rock star with influence all over the country. This fellow friend of mine, great guy, great realtor, is in Salt Lake City on his way to Colorado for a bike race. And he's going to share with you today on Cliff's Notes the one thing you need to know to generate all the leads you need to explode your business and grow a team without having to spend a dime. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, Don Yoakum on Cliff's Notes. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. Oh, I guarantee it. And man, I mean, just hot back on the trail from Minneapolis, Minnesota, C3 and I.
Yep.
We had a great visit there, didn't we?
That was awesome.
That was really amazing.
Yeah.
Our good friends. And thank you, Noel Nielsen, for hosting that and all your great folks there in Stillwater. And then also thanks for AJ coming in from Puerto Rico. I mean, that was a great event. And we just hope that we get to see you guys all and shareholders. That's coming up again in June.
June, yeah.
You believe that, in Orlando? Oh, but real quick, in the meantime, don't forget about the luxury event. That's right. NextGen.Luxury, Josh Altman from $1 Million Listing LA, along with Janie Coffey, Michael Valdez. We've got an all-star lineup.
Frank
McKinney. Oh my gosh, my favorite, the philanthrocapitalist.
Yep.
The man himself built a $50 million spec house in Delray, 32,000 square feet, sold it in 2.5 months. The guy's unbelievable.
When's the event again?
The event is June 13th. That's on a Monday. There are still tickets available.
8 to 5?
8 to 5. It's at the Legacy West Renaissance Hotel. Wonderful hotel.
We'll love to see you guys there.
Yes, be there or be square. If you want to get into luxury, I'm telling you, this is the quintessential luxury event of the year. And also thanks to Candy's Dirt. Candy
Cook
Evans
will be there. Or Candy Evans. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah.
Our favorite. Candy's wonderful. All right. So without further ado, Trelvis, can we bring on Don? There he is, all the way from Salt Lake City. Don, you're actually in one of my old favorite stomping grounds, Little Cottonwood Canyon, there near Snowbird. And my goodness, what in your travels takes you that beautiful state of Utah today?
Got some fantastic team members here, and I just wanted to take some time to meet with them and see what I could do to help them to build on their business. And so I had a couple great meetings this morning and one more after we have our time together here. And then I'm off to Durango, Colorado.
And what's happening in Durango?
Well, a little bike race. I'm going to do the Iron Horse Classic. So Saturday, I'll be out there trying to get over a couple mountain passes, and they have this event. It's kind of a classic. They call it the Iron Horse Classic, where I guess one day some bicyclists tried to race the train from Durango to Silverton, and so now they have an annual event about it.
And
it's 50 miles.
It's 50 miles. How much vertical is there?
Yeah, about 9,000. The 50 miles is the easy part. It's the uphill that gets you.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've driven Independence Pass, and that was hard to do in a car. I can't imagine doing that on a bicycle. Can you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, that is insane. And so, Don, I mean, look, you have sort of a history of doing very athletic things. Weren't you a championship windsurfer at one time?
Back in the day, I was. I had a great fortune of getting in the sport at a young age and pursued it with all vigor that I could. And I was able to get myself onto the Olympic training team and won a few national titles, one world title. But I would say, Cliff, what would be relevant to your listeners would be that I learned disciplines, strategies that taught me how to win, right? And I think those things are pretty universal throughout life. You got to show up on time. You got to do what you say. You got to under promise, over deliver. You need to be gracious, and then you got to be the best at something. And so I put all my focus into windsurfing in this case at that time. And when I was a kid, you mentioned I was from Northern California. I grew up in Sacramento, but in order to get where I needed to go, I first moved to the Bay Area, then I moved to Fort Lauderdale. So each time to train with people that were better than me, and basically just copy what they were doing, and it turns out if you model after the people that are doing it in the very best possible way, um, you get a little of that yourself.
Well, I know what you're saying is resonating with the folks in our audience today. And as I promised, guys, Don is going to be delivering the goods here with a strategy to help you generate all the leads that you need without having to buy any. But before we get to that, I think it's important that, a lot of people, Don, when they show up on Cliff's Notes, it's just this massive success and they've accomplished great things. But, as life is, it's not just all about the wins. I mean, the road for you to get to here hasn't always been just a bed of roses, to use a colloquialism here. But would you do us a little bit, and I don't want to get too deep here in things. I know you've had some challenges, but would you share with us a little bit some of the formative years and some of the challenges that you've overcome? I mean, just the fact that you've been, got to number one in the world in windsurfing. I mean, that alone is a story. Are there any other times or moments in your life where you had to make those sort of defining decisions that got you to the next level, or really difficult challenges that you've had to overcome?
Sure. Well, I suppose, we can stick with the windsurfing part for a moment. When I was 16 years old, I became pretty competent. I was among the very best in Northern California. I think I told you I moved to the Bay Area so that I could train with those folks. But the environment for that is not good in the wintertime. And I had determined that all the best people were training in South Florida in the winter. And so, I went to my dad and said, hey, if I want to go to the next level, this is where those people are. And do you mind if I move with a friend out there and finish my high school in Fort Lauderdale? And because I managed to not get myself thrown in jail when I went to the Bay Area, he actually did agree to that. And it was funny because when I got to Fort Lauderdale, I actually had to persuade who was then the women's surfing world champion to be my surrogate guardian, and she went to the school and signed, that she was, basically going to be my guardian. And it's funny because of course that was back in the day, 1980, I guess. And we didn't actually she was not my legal guardian, but we just told him that she was, and I never got myself in trouble, so I ended up graduating. But it's just, it's being willing to just do things, do what you need to do to make it happen. And, when I got there, of course I'm a kid. I had a job as well, but, I was broke, and, I didn't have hot water. And, in my place, I was in a little studio and not the best neighborhood. But you know what? That's what I had to do to be able to be there at that time. And it worked out.
Well, let's talk about this as it relates to real estate. I mean, you started one of the first franchises in Northern California for another legacy franchise broker, and you grew that in 27 months from, I guess, a modest 10 agents all the way up to 184. And that market center would actually grow to become the most profitable market center in that entire franchise. And we're not talking about a little franchise. This is a big one with red signs. And I don't know if the letters GK mean anything to you or not, but we'll call it brand X for now. So that alone, I mean, you were able to translate whatever that skill set was that you had. You grew up as an Olympian. Let's talk a little bit about what it requires of a person as a leader or as a manager, what sort of things, in order for you to make that happen, what did you rely on from your past experience, and what skills does it take, Don?
Yeah, well, great question. Well, first of all, in order for me to make the decision to join their team, I did my due diligence. I flew out to Dallas, by the way, and I met with Gene Frederick, and he was a team leader at that time, and Gene was really giving and sharing all the financials, and I was quite impressed with the transparency, and I could see that there, because I had access to the financials of all of the market centers across the country, again, if I would just copy what they were doing, then I could apply that in my context in my market, which in this case was Roseville, California. And once I got going, I'm a hard worker. I was able to start recruiting about 5 people a month, but I was really busting it. I mean, 60 hours a week kind of a thing. And I come to find out that there's somebody else doing 10 a month, twice what I'm doing. And I'm going home just flat out exhausted every day, right? And so I tracked her down. Cheryl Sidoti is her name, actually, and she's a sweetheart. And at one of the events, I approached her and I just said, "Hey, I hear you're like the best person in the country in my role." And she was very gracious, and I says, "I guess you're recruiting 10 a month?" And she said, "Yes, I am." And I go, "Well, I'm only doing 5. I'm wondering if I might be able to learn a thing or two from you, but I just don't see how I could double what I'm currently doing. I'm already working 60 hours a week." And anyway, the long and short of it is that she she agreed to mentor me for 12 weeks. And in that 12-week period of time, I got my production from 5 to 10 recruits per month. And basically doing a lot of the things that she was doing. And so it was the same strategy, in other words, that I used to become a top windsurfer. I then applied in this context as a team leader and business builder. So
Okay.
does that give you some color on that?
Well, it does.
Elaborate on it?
Well, I want you to, what I want you to really dive into is, what are the daily habits?
Right.
What does it take? What kind of discipline does it take to do that work at that level, Don?
Yeah, well, in that particular role, what it took was 2 hours a day of prospecting, 2 appointments a day. And what I figured is that my weekly appointments would translate to my monthly recruit. So if I had 40 appointments per month, that's 10 per week, I would need to recruit 10 a month. And in order to get those 10 appointments, I had to be willing to prospect 2 hours a day.
And so when you
And,
talk about,
not just prospect, by the way.
okay,
I had several referral sources, that I would partner with. Affiliates got me about 2 hires a month from people that they thought would be a good fit for my company. But yeah, no, I mean, it took about 2 hours of prospecting to make that happen.
and so tell us what prospecting on the sort of attraction or recruiting side is. What kind of, how do you break the ice with an agent? How does that talk track go?
Well, of course, it can vary based on the agent, but I would say the most important thing that one should do is look at the model, the business model that you're in, and ask yourself, who would be the ideal agent for this model, right? So today, of course, I'm an EXP, and there's a wide variety of folks that are prospering in our company, all the way from a new agent up to these mega teams. But for me, I just feel that the relationship-based icon level producer, at least for me, is the perfect hire, right? It's a top producing agent that's going to be awarded a material amount of stock, and they're doing business in a way that I really respect and can promote and actually help them, right? I can add value to their business. And so Upon identifying your ideal client, then it becomes a discipline of reaching out and connecting with them. Of course, you might already know some personally. Well, that's ideal. But if you don't, then I would identify markets where they were. I have found that it is ideal if you can build to events. And so let's say that I have an event coming up in Seattle in 6 to 8 weeks. I might start reaching out to folks that would be my ideal client or my ideal recruit about 6 to 8 weeks before the event so that I can begin to build a relationship with them. And then by the time the event comes, I've already met with them 2 or 3 times. And perhaps other members of my team have met with them as well. We have relationship. So when we do actually meet at the event, it's more of a consummation of the process, right? And it creates for a natural close. I don't have to be aggressive in my approach at all. It's just a very natural flow of things, and hopefully is comfortable for them.
So when you do you look for people that you already have relationships with, or are these people that, in other words, I would imagine the conversation would go a little different if it were somebody you didn't know. Do you just like try to meet them for coffee, talk about their business, or how does that opening line go?
Yeah. Well, I would certainly start with people that you know, right? Because you already have a trust relationship. The secondary layer to that would people that you know in common, right? And like for example, let's say that I didn't know anyone in Seattle, but I didn't know any Icon agents. But let's say that I did know a top loan officer, for example, right? And so I might go to that loan officer and I might say, so Cliff, I've got an event coming up in Seattle. It's 8 weeks from now. And I believe it would just be absolutely ideal for somebody that is doing at least 30, but somewhere between 30 and 50 transactions a year and doing it in a relationship-based way. So I'm not looking for an internet marketer or, somebody that's grinding away on door knocking and so forth. I'm looking for more of a relationship-based marketer that works through their sphere of influence, that is savvy in terms of professional networking. If when you think of somebody, a top producer like that, who comes to mind for you? And then he or she would give me a name, right? And then I would call that person, and let's just say that person's name is John for the sake of our conversation, right? So I would call up. I'd say, ring, ring, ring. The person says, hi. And I say, well, is this John? He'd say, yes. I'd say, well, hi, John. This is Don Yoakum. We have a mutual acquaintance in Cliff Freeman, the loan officer. And gosh, I was speaking with Cliff just the other day because I've got an event coming up in Seattle. And I was asking him of the top producers that he knows in your market that do business in a relationship, who admire, and he said you. And so I just wanted to reach out and get to meet you and invite you to this event that's going to be coming up, and so forth, and then take the conversation from there. And sometimes I'll say something like, and by the way, how did you get that reputation anyway? Right? you know um, and they'll crack up, or one time I asked a title rep when I was back in that recruiting role for KW. I said, who in the Century 21 office would you consider to be the most learning based agent? And the guy says, I can't even remember the guy's name, but let's say it's John Doe. So I called up John Doe and I said, hey John, this is Don Yoakum, and I was talking to Scott Stahovich with First American, and I was asking him, who is the most learning based agent in your office? And he said you. And I'm just kind of wondering how you got that reputation. Are you reading a bunch of books, going to seminars? What's up? And of course it just makes the conversation light. Of course a learning based person would probably take that as a compliment, right?
Absolutely. And this is, if you're watching this this is pure gold. This is right out of How to Win Friends and Influence People. And Don, I know you're you're a thought leader yourself, and you read a lot and follow a lot of other thought leaders in our industry and just in the self-development industry as well. But what we're talking about here, guys, really leads right into what the promise for the show is, which is to deliver a strategy on how to get all of the leads that you need to explode your business and build a team without having to pay for them. Because again, this is sort of relation-based marketing. We see all of these people, coaches and everybody that are, oh, you got to get on YouTube and you got to do 3 posts a day and all this and all that. But Don, I think you would agree that's not the only way to sell real estate, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, well, first of all, I think the foundation of everyone's business should be their personal sphere of influence and past clients. And, when I'm coaching agents, I strongly encourage them to get up to 300 people that consider them a real estate resource and they become the realtor of choice, right? So it's important people get that phrasing. I'm going to be a real estate resource and I'm going to become their realtor of choice. If you've got an audience of 300 people and people move every 10 years, that's 30 listings a year, okay? And by the way, when people sell the home, they don't often go homeless after that. So there's more transactions still, okay? And that's just your sphere of influence. But the key is, and I think what so many people ignore is it requires personal communication. What I tell people is whatever your database is, okay, if it's 120, I say there's roughly 60 working days in a quarter. Okay, I want you to take that 120 and I want you to call 2 people a day. I want you to time block 1 hour, do a little prep, go stalk them, figure out what's going on in their life, and then I want you to call 2 people a day. When you get your list to 180, you're calling 3 because 180 divided by 60 is 3. 240 is 4. 300 is where I have them cap and they're making 5 calls a day. And they're just really simple, easy scripts. Hey, Cliff, just wondering how things are going around the house. Is there anything you need? Do you need a painter, plumber, roofer, landscaper? Okay. I know I'd love it if you said you wanted to sell, but I know you only do that about once every 10 years. But I'm guessing there's probably something around the house that needs attention. Okay. So that's my favorite initial go-to. But I might call you next quarter and say, Cliff, I know I got you guys' your personal residence, but I don't know that we've ever had a talk about investing in real estate. Is that part of your retirement strategy? Right? And have you owned rentals before? And if so, what kind? And how was your experience? And did you manage them yourself? And, because sometimes I'll have clients come to me and say, well, Don, by the time I'm 60, I'd like to have 5 rentals free and clear, paying me $10K a month in cash flow. And so then I'll put them on a plan in order to build to that, right? The third call is, are you living in your dream home? Okay. By the way, most people have a dream home and they're not living in it, right? And so what I'll do is I'll just ask you to describe that dream home to me, and you'll give me all those details. I'll take copious notes, and I'm gonna find that home once a year, by the way. And I'm going to send you a link, and it's going to say, Cliff, gosh, I was out looking at property the other day. I came across this property. By golly, it looks just like your dream home. Is that still your dream? Is there anything I can do to help make it happen? Right. And then the fourth one is just an event. Like I might have organized expert panel that I'm doing on Zoom with some other local professionals. And so I'll say, hey, by the way, we're going to be talking about how to get a second home, turning it into an Airbnb. We're going to have a Zoom a week from Tuesday. Would you like me to send you a link? Okay. Or once a quarter, we do a economic update. We have a financial advisor on there, a CPA, a lender, and we talk about the economy. Gosh, we've got so much going on with inflation and interest rates, and and how is all this affecting our market here locally? We're going to talk about that. Would you like a link to that? Right. And so those are events that I would encourage people to come to. Oh, does that give you some?
And what you're saying speaks, it's such a timely thing you're talking about now with, this inflection we're seeing in the market and a shift. All of the dialogues that we've been using over the last 6 months or year are going to be changing. And if you're in real estate and your business is not keeping up with the times, then you're going to be facing some rough waters ahead. And I really love what you described, Don, about being the resource. And, we used to have a saying around our market center is don't be the source, but be the source of the source. And so when you go outside of your wheelhouse and you go and you get a CPA, a financial planner, a lender, people that are experts in fields that, really are part of the real estate sphere, and bring them together, then you are really being the source of the source. And not only that, but, and I know that this is part of your strategy, but do any of these other centers of influence, do they have their own databases?
Well, Cliff, you probably are touching on the most important piece of this whole puzzle. Okay. We coach the agents to get up to 300 people. Okay. But, and they might be a relatively new agent. They might only have 120, right? But they can align themselves with other professionals that have 10 and 20-year trusted relationships with local consumers in that marketplace. So let's just say that you're going to organize an economic panel. On an economic panel today, you'd probably want to have a lender because interest rates are such a hot issue. You'd probably want to have a financial advisor because that's a complement to the real estate investment piece, right? And we've had those folks in the stock market might be looking for an alternative
Well,
over
and
the last 6 months anyway.
taxes are going to be changing, right? We've got an
Yeah,
administration
and so you have
that
a
wants to
CPA.
shock the economy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's just say, for the sake of our conversation, that in this economic panel we have a CPA, financial advisor, and a lender, and they each have 300 in their databases as well. By the way, they'll have at least that many. Any decent CPA worth his or her salt has 500 clients. Which, by the way, if people move every 10 years, they got a client listing their home every single week of the year. Okay. Now, but let's just say they each had 300 and you've got 300. So this event that's going to be this economic panel Zoom event is going to be promoted to 1,200 people, but it's going to be promoted to 900 people that don't know you today. 900 people that own homes in your community. 900 people that those other professionals that you're sitting next to on that panel have established a trusted relationship, and you are being put forth as an authority and the exclusive realtor on that panel, right? So it's just an absolutely ideal situation, right? It is so hard, and I've been training professionals for years on professional networking, and I'll give you, there's a couple key questions that you want to train them to ask, but if you can just place yourself and those other professionals in front of those consumers, then you don't have to count on the referral or the introduction. Those people will just reach out to you directly because you've been put forth as the authority on that subject. It's an absolutely ideal situation.
So can my brain wants to make a connection here with something we were talking about earlier with regard to recruiting or attraction. Wouldn't this also apply if you're trying to reach, and you said this earlier, you said go get a lender to make an introduction for you, but how many other service providers are there that you could go talk to? A home inspector, an insurance person, a title person, somebody in the bug business, right? Roofers, to say, hey, all I'm trying to do is just kind of expand what you're talking about here back over to the recruiting side, where you really want to explore as many avenues. Think about all the different people that do business with a realtor. And, I was even thinking hairdressers, right? I mean, hairdressers are the ones that they probably know everybody's business, right? And also title people. If a realtor's having a bad day or their broker's giving them, grief, and the first people they'll go talk to is title people, yeah. And they'll get the title guy goes, oh, let's go have a drink, we'll talk about it, something like that, right? So, but again, I think what you're saying is so important and so critical, is that a lot of times we have the resources sitting there right in front of us, right? People we do business with every day, and we're just not asking them the right questions. Hey, by the way, do you know of any agents that, might be interested in hearing about a new opportunity? Or if it's if you're looking for buyers and sellers, hey, I know you've got 500 clients. Do you know anybody interesting, or anybody who may be contemplating a move in the next 6 months? Do they really need to have, the knowledge of the market right now? I mean, there's all kinds of rumors, Don, going around about what's going to happen in the economy. Some people are saying that house prices are going to tank. Other people are saying, no, it's not, but we could go into a recession. The average consumer has to have somebody to go to know what decision to make with the largest asset that they're going to buy or sell in a lifetime, right? I mean,
No, absolutely.
I love this. This strategy is amazing, especially in a time like this.
It is, and I just want to caution folks to understand that most people in life, there's a great book on this subject called Give and Take by Adam Grant, but most people in life, roughly 60%, think of life as a trade. You do something for me, I'll do something for you. Okay. There's givers and there's takers, but about 60% are traders. Okay. And so if you're going to embark on a reciprocal referral relationship with these other professionals, what I want you to do first is I want you to make a deposit. I want you to come from a place of contribution. So what does that look like, right? You've got tens of thousands of people in your organization. I'm just about to break the 1,000 number myself. And so I have some resource that I could bring value to other people. And so, for example, I can recall an instance where I went to a particular title rep and I said, hey, Scott, if you could wave your magic wand and you could be doing business with anyone in my company that you're not doing business with today, who would that be? And he said, Val. And I said, okay, fair enough. Of course, Val was one of my top producers. And I says, and so what is it about Val that makes him so attractive for you, besides the fact that he's obviously producing a lot of business? And he goes, well, I really respect him. The guy has this tremendous work ethic, and just like him as a person, it'd just be an honor to do business with him. I said, okay. So I went to Val and I said, hey, I was talking to Scott. He said, if he could do business with anyone in the company, it would be you. Does he have any chance at all of being able to do business with you? And Val said, no. I'm absolutely in love with my escrow officer, not in a personal way, but in a professional way. She does an amazing job, and I just couldn't make that change. So if she retires, yes, I'd be happy to talk with Scott and his escrow officer. Okay. Now, in this instance, it didn't work out. But you know what? I went back to Scott and I said, Scott, okay, I went to Val. He does business with this escrow officer, and here's why. And when she retires, you guys are going to be able to have a conversation. But who's your number two? Okay. But the point was, even though I didn't succeed in that, I came to him offering what I could do to help him first. Okay. And that's a critical piece of this puzzle, right? And but I want to make sure, because we were talking about CPAs and financial advisors and so forth. I want to make sure that your listeners leave today with a couple really important questions, and that is that, for example, with a CPA, and I think I told you, a typical CPA will have about 500 clients, and that means that they've got about 50 clients listing homes per year. Okay, but you tell me if I'm wrong with this, but typically when you go to your CPA, they'll ask you, well, Cliff, did you buy or sell a property last year? Because they want to report your taxes accurately, right? It's pretty uncommon. In fact, I would say 98% of the time, they do not ask you if you plan to buy or sell in the coming tax year. Okay. Now, doggone it, if they're going to be able to introduce you to a client that has a need, aren't they going to need to know about it before the event occurs? Okay. So for asset-based professionals, the question that you train them to ask is, do you plan to buy or sell in the coming tax year? That's the way that the phrasing goes for the CPA. The way it goes for the insurance agent is, by the way, insurance brokers are legally obligated to renew your policy each year. Some do it. And by the way, we're looking for somebody that does a personal communication, right? So that's a good question to ask. And say, hey, when you do, you're upselling them a policy and for sure trying to get them renewed. Can you just ask this one question before you hang up? And they're like, well, what's that? Just say, by the way, Cliff, how are you liking your place? Are you settled in there a while? Which is code for, are you going to sell your home this year, right? Okay, so that's the question for asset-based professionals. For vendors, okay, vendors are, I want you to think, what does somebody do right before they list a home? They paint it, they landscape it, they remodel it, they redo the flooring. I've got an agent that got 4 deals from his window washer last year, okay? The question that you train those vendors is, may I ask what has prompted you to paint your home? Because if you're planning to sell, we use a quality paint, but maybe not the most expensive. And we're going to do a fine job regardless, but maybe not go to the same cost and detail as if you tell me you're going to be here for another 10 years. Okay. And then you get them to do a 3-way text introduction. All right. So those are the 2 questions. Do you plan to buy or sell in the coming year if they're an asset-based professional? What prompted you to landscape your home, to remodel your home, right? There's only 3 reasons somebody paints a home, okay? It's got deferred maintenance, they just bought it and they want to make it their own, or they're preparing it for sale. And about 25% of the time, they're preparing it for sale, okay? If you're driving down the road and you see guys out painting the house, hit the brakes and go up and ask that painter if they know why that seller is painting that home.
That's so true. That's so true. Don, have you noticed that most people will live in a home for 10 years and then decide to update it right before they move? It's like they don't even get to enjoy the benefit of the updated money that they put into it. It's really, what a brilliant thought. I mean, to make that connection, absolutely. That's 1,000%.
Well, if your painter is not getting you 4 listings a year, you need a new painter.
Oh, wow. I think we all need new painters.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow. That's a pretty powerful message right there for sure. For sure.
I'm going to have to go back and watch this again.
I think a lot of us need to go back and watch this again and take some heavy duty notes.
Heavy notes, yeah.
This is stuff you can implement in your business right away. Yep.
Well, and if I could add just one thing, Cliff, to really bring this together, some of these agents are asking themselves, they're saying, okay, well, intellectually, that sounds great, but gosh, I'm only doing 12 deals a year. I don't have that much influence with a painter. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you a quick story about a mastermind that I facilitated. I had to get in this group. They had to be doing over 200 bucks a year. Okay. So everyone in the room is successful. We had a CPA, a financial advisor, an attorney, a commercial broker, et cetera. I went around the room and I said, hey, I want you to share to whom you refer the most and where you get the most referrals. We got to the financial advisor and this guy says, well, I've referred my CPA over 300 times. Okay, now everybody in the room is very successful, but we're all, our jaws dropping. We're like, man, I want to be that guy's best friend, right? Okay, now here's what I want you to think. It's not 12 deals that buy you all of your influence. What if you were the realtor that introduced that CPA to that, that financial advisor to that CPA? Okay. 300 times you would have gotten credit for a deposit relationship. And by the way, the CPA did reciprocate some, not to the same extent. Okay. So my point is, if there's one reputation besides a relationship-based agent that I would like your folks to have, it is connector. Be a connector, right? It's a way for you to create value that costs you zip, where you can make a big difference for a lot of people. Okay. And whenever you meet a professional, there's a couple questions you want to ask. One is, what would make an ideal referral for you? Okay. And what's your best referral source? Professional. And what should be that isn't? Okay. When they tell you the what should be, I want you to go find that person. Okay. If they can't think of it, because some professionals just don't think in that language, I want you to ask yourself, what does somebody do right before they hire that professional? Okay. By the way, what does somebody do right before they paint? Don't they work with a contractor, sheetrock person, flooring, etc.?
That's right.
So do
Yeah.
you see how all those people could be referral sources for the painter? So if you really want those 4 listings from that painter, you're not going to get it by just referring the guy now and then, okay? Because he's got 12 agents doing that. You're going to get it because you connected him to a contractor that's referring him a deal every single month.
Wow.
Make sense?
It does. Yeah. I mean, this is just like low hanging
This is
fruit
basic principles.
right in front of your,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's so many other squirrels nowadays that you just got to get back, down to the basics on what Don's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all looking for the, simple, faster, easy, cheaper, whatever, all I got to do is throw money at this problem and it fixes it.
Right.
This is something that doesn't require you to go out and invest tens of thousands of dollars. This is just simply you're interacting,
yeah.
your time,
Yeah.
being conscious of what it means to be a giver, to be able to help. B&I, we learn givers gain. I mean, that's the whole thing. The whole mantra behind B&I is givers gain. And Don, I think, your strategy absolutely 1,000%. And you listen to Tony, you listen to Jim, you listen to anybody who's again, a thought leader in self-development. You've got to come from contribution. How can I pour and add value into somebody else's life? Just like Zig Ziglar said,
Without expecting anything in return.
you can get anything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. And Don, you are the quintessential giver and someone who I have just the ultimate respect for. I got to thank you. I can't believe it, C3, but you know how it goes here. The time is just flying. I can't thank you enough, Don, for coming on the show. We've tried to get the schedules to work out and talked about this
Yep.
for a good while, and I'm so glad that we finally been able to get it. And not only that, but catch you right before you're headed to Durango to go compete in that. It's what is it? The Iron
Horse Classic.
Iron Horse Classic. And
And
is that your Iron Horse in the background there?
that is.
Well, that's one of them. That's the mountain bike. The road bike is out of the view of the screen, but I'm going to Durango for the road race, and then on my way back home, I'm going to go to Moab for some mountain biking. So, just mixing a little work and play. You know how it is.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. Well, Don, you're somebody that we certainly always learn from and have always looked up to. And thank you again. This has been a wonderful call. Literally, I can't even put a dollar value on it. If these agents would just go out, listen to what Don was sharing and implement that.
Capitalize on that. Yeah.
I mean,
that's easy.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
It is. And why is it, before we leave, Don, why is it that more agents aren't doing this?
Well, the agents are used to going to the buffet, bringing the food, and everybody else brings a fork. And sadly, that's the state of the industry. The industry is conditioned to receiving from the agent and not reciprocating. And it's just pitiful because we're all paid on the same day. We all have the same customer. And my mission, if you should call it, is to create a spirit of cooperation where people are adding value to these databases of customers and then benefiting because of it, whether it be an expert panel event or it be an economic panel, or just asking questions in the normal course of business. But I would say if there's one reason, Cliff, why it doesn't happen is because they don't ask. I mean, if you were my painter, okay, and I came to you and I said, so Cliff, you know how much I appreciate you doing business for my clients. I've been referring you for years. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you a quick story and then I know we're going to wrap up. I just coached one of our agents. She's been in the business for 20 years. And I said, hey, by the way, do you have a good painter relationship? She goes, oh my gosh, yeah, I've referred this guy over 100 times, in the last decade. And I says, okay, great. And how many times has he referred you? 0. I go, Kelly, that is not acceptable. I want you to call that guy up and I want you to train him to ask this one question, which is, may I ask what prompted you to paint your home? She did. 2 weeks later, she had a listing.
If you don't ASK,
You don't GET.
there you go.
That's as easy as that. Yeah.
That's a Michael Reese.
This is stuff I'm going to implement right away myself, so I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is everybody's opportunity. It really, really is.
I love the way Don broke it down, though.
Oh, I mean, this is it. This is the blueprint right here. I mean, the key things, the questions that you want to coach your CPA and your financial planner to ask. And I mean, that's it. That's pure gold, Don.
Just teeing it up for us.
Yeah. Don, if someone on our call wanted to reach out to you, and obviously, you recently transitioned, not too long. I say recently, it seems like it just was yesterday that we came over 5 years ago, but you're now with EXP, and obviously there's a reason why you came over here, and a lot of it has to do with the ability to add and to give and to pour more into people. If somebody in our audience wanted to reach out and contact you directly and maybe have another conversation about anything with you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
They could just email me, don@proinsight.com. They could also connect with me through LinkedIn or Facebook. Hey, whatever it takes, man. Talent finds a way. So if they're determined, I will be determined to help them.
And so Pro Insight, and this is just kind of, you just mentioned that. What's Pro Insight all about?
Well, Pro Insight has a mission. It's my company, or I'm one of the principals, and we're on a mission to be able to help people get professional referrals. And we have a platform. In fact, next month we're launching an app both on iPhone and Android that will connect. Imagine this, Cliff. There's 3,200 counties in the country, and each agent will have an exclusive area. So, one icon level producer in each of those 3,200 counties. And it's not just agents, it'll be for the other professionals that we've been talking about, the asset-based professionals, as well as the trigger events for listing a home. And they'll all have this app to be able to easily introduce each other to clientele. And, I think it's going to cause people to get 2 extra deals a month, one from their local referral network and then one national relocation. Especially if they set the foundation with their own personal sphere. So if people are interested in that, they certainly can go to proinsight.com and check it out, and we'd be happy to help them there as well. But really appreciate you and you in our organization. It's just so nice to be able to be in business with such quality people that want to share and bring value. And it's no surprise to me that you have built such a magnificent organization. You've really set an example for me to follow as far as the EXP thing goes. And I'm a few clicks behind you there, but I appreciate the example you're setting. So thank you.
Well, we're getting the trees out of the way and leaving breadcrumbs for you, Don. So just come right on up there and join us, man. We can't wait. We don't like to do this alone. We got plenty of room up here at the top for you. So come on, brother.
Cool.
Don, again,
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I want to wish you the best in the Iron Horse in Durango. That is going to be amazing. I know you're going to crush it. I know at your young age, in your late 30s, you're well able to manage that 9,000 foot vertical that you're going to have to deal with. But twice up and down. That's right. Down's going to be a little easier.
Well, down and then back up. So
and then back up. Oh, he's got 2. Oh my gosh! Wow. I didn't want to think about that. I just had a muscle cramp. I don't know what happened. It's the reticular activator going off again. Anyway, we wish you the best, Don. We'll see you at Shareholders, right, in Orlando.
Yes, sir.
Just a few short weeks. So super excited about that. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Yoakum from Sacramento, California, via Salt Lake and Durango. What a terrific guy. Absolutely amazing.
So,
all right.
Real quick, let's wrap this
One
up.
more time.
Mavericks.
Oh, Mavericks.
3-1.
3-1. Tonight's the big night, huh?
Tonight could be it. Travis?
Yes. Big T?
Yeah, tonight is probably going to be it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll leave it at that.
We'll say a prayer
But don't worry about the Mavericks. Yeah, don't forget June 13th, though, at the Renaissance Legacy West, 8 to 5. Reach out. We got a few tickets left. Josh Altman from $1 Million Listing LA is going to be there.
www.
nextgen.luxury. That's where we live, right there. The tickets live right there. All right, folks, we'll see you next week. Have an awesome Memorial Day. Let's give thanks for those who gave more than we ever could for our country. And we'll see you guys
We'll also
next
keep
week.
the kids in Uvalde.
And also keep that the families and prayers for those folks in Uvalde dealing with that. Yes, sir.
Horrible.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have an awesome week. We'll see you next time on Cliff's
All
Notes.
right,
All right, folks, tune in to Cliff's Notes every Thursday at 1 o'clock Central for the tips, tricks, and tactics to explode your business. I guarantee it.